I think that is one of the many things that makes this book so enjoyable for a reader like myself, is having that kind of time capsule, that marker in time, and seeing, oh, that's what people were saying in 2013, to
Mm,
2015. That was the
mm,
prevailing wisdom of the time, and
yeah.
how much has changed since then.
Well, absolutely. I mean, yeah. I mean, it's the. I mean, that sort of that this kind of afterlife of Federer's career, or new phase, whereby he, well, we had it a bit in 2014-15, which again was kind of just after because the timeline of the book ends 2014, and then 2015 he came very close to winning a couple of. Then he sort of had a bit of a setback again, but then incredibly came back in 2017 and played some of his best ever tennis for 6 months and won two more Grand Slams, and then again in 2018 won the Australian Open. I mean, all that sort of yeah. I mean, that changes his kind of career. And the biggest thing I suppose that's changed since the book is that the rivalry with Nadal, which was so sort of like such a so much kind of sense of if you were a sort of passionate Federer fan, so much sort of sense of pain was kind of involved in his rival with Nadal, and his kind of failure to win matches, the big matches against Nadal, which was what informed my sort of chapter on Nadal in the book, where I sort of I'm quite sort of, as many people have pointed out, quite sort of, I really have a go at Nadal in a semi tongue in cheek way, but it did capture the sort of, this sort of hatred of this man because he was the kind of nut that Federer couldn't crack. And that's changed now because Federer's beaten Nadal. I think in sort of 5 of the last 6 times they've played. I mean, he's really sort of got over his Nadal curse. Now it's much more Djokovic because his terrible defeats of recent years have obviously been against Djokovic. The most notable being the 2019 final, which I was lucky enough to go to, and that
Oh,
was
wow.
that was
What was it like
a
being in the
terrible.
building that day?
Oh well, it just I mean it seemed like it was my it was my birthday as well. It was like so it was a real sort of birthday treat. Federer wins Wimbledon, the oldest ever winner. His 8th title, or was it his 9th? I've even forgotten how many titles he's won now. I mean, yeah, it would have been extraordinary, and that it all just seemed to be going so perfectly. I mean, he played a absolutely brilliant match, and then set it all up for himself. I mean, it was just, but then I don't know. It was an extraordinary, yeah. I mean, it was an extraordinary experience seeing it sort of something something that seemed. I mean, he, he couldn't not win it at that point. Just, I mean, it's just never happened before. Someone serving two match points up. On Wimbledon on their serve and not closing it out. And also there was this kind of awful sort of feeling that this was happening again because I think I write about them in the book, the two sort of matches he played at the US Open against Djokovic in consecutive years, where he was 40-15 up, one time in the semi-final at the US Open, one time on Djokovic's serve, but one time on his serve, and Djokovic pulled off this amazing return. And so it was kind of set up for this sort of weird sense of history repeating itself. And as soon as he kind of didn't capture those 2 match points, there was just this terrible feeling of it's happened again. And it's, yeah, I mean, it was. I think I got better. I mean, I think I've got better at dealing with Federer's kind of losses. I think in the book, it's very kind of, I make it very clear how sort of completely devastating I found these sort of really close big losses against Nadal and so forth. I'm a little bit, I'm better to cope with them now. I mean, maybe as like, I don't know, like you get better as you get older at coping with romantic heartbreak and sort of life's knocks. You maybe as a fan as well, you sort of become a little bit more resilient. Maybe I'm just a little bit less kind of involved in that sort of very kind of intense way that I was when I wrote the book now. So I'm a little bit more philosophical about it all. I can step back a bit. But yeah, no, I mean, it was those 2 points. I mean, the guy I went with, who's a kind of obsessive, he still sort of like, he says, I was lying awake at 3 o'clock in the morning last night and thinking, why did he not go You know, to why did he not go the other way on the 40-30 point, or could he have done something different when he approached the net to that, you know, and kind of, you know, it's like, you know, it's still sort of, it has this kind of quality that it just kind of haunts your, you know, it's that kind of what if, you know, but